What time do you stop pretending a limp just to get a free seat? Darren O'Connell froze, one hand on the restaurant door, the other gripping the crutch tighter under his left arm. He hadn't even sat down yet. He looked up. A waitress red apron. Name tag said Sierra stood near the hostess stand, arms crossed, eyes sharp. She wasn't smiling. He blinked. Excuse me? She tilted her head slightly, like she didn't believe what she was seeing. Oh, I'm sorry. Thought you were someone else. We get a lot of people faking stuff to get out of waiting in line. Darren nodded slowly, but didn't say anything. He shuffled over to the waiting area, crutches clicking on the tile floor. The place was packed. He hadn't come here to be treated special. He came here because something didn't sit right. His father built the business from a single greasy spoon into a chain of 11 restaurants across the state. When his dad passed, Darren inherited everything: menus, staff, the buildings, the debt, and the pressure. Over the past year, complaints had trickled in. Cold food, rude staff, long wait times. At first, he chalked it up to post-pandemic turnover. But lately, the complaints weren't just about service, they were about how people were treated. Store 11, this one in particular, had a noticeable dip in return customers, and 3 employees had quit within the same week. Darren had never visited this location in person. His father had opened it during Darren's college years, and he'd always been in corporate, never on the floor. The staff here only knew him as a name on the paychecks. So he shaved his beard, dyed his hair a little grayer, and wore thick glasses. A fake knee brace completed the look, plus real crutches from a sprain he'd healed from months ago. His cover? A secret shopper hired by a third-party consulting firm. That's what he told the district manager, who helped arrange the visit. No one else knew. A hostess finally approached.
Isir, Carly.
Table for one. Yes, please, Darren said, voice soft. She guided him to a table near the kitchen. As he lowered himself onto the chair, Sierra passed again. He caught her glancing at him. A few minutes later, she returned, pad in hand. You ready to order? He looked over the menu, then said, I heard the grilled chicken sandwich is good. Not really, Sierra said flatly. It's dry. Get the cheeseburger, if you want something that won't taste like cardboard. Darren blinked, then nodded.
All right.
Cheeseburger it is. Fries or salad? Fries. Okay, she said, not looking up. Drink. Water. Cool. She scribbled something and walked off. He leaned back and watched. She moved fast, but didn't smile at anyone. She snapped at a coworker for bumping into her. Rolled her eyes behind a couple's back after they asked for extra ranch. Still, she was efficient. She handled 5 tables by herself, didn't miss a beat. But something about her tone made customers tense. Across the room, a younger waitress, short brown hair, nervous energy, was trying to calm a crying toddler while the mom cleaned up spilled juice. Sierra walked by, muttering, "Not a daycare," under her breath. The young waitress crouched, whispered something to the kid, then ran back to the kitchen. She returned with a cup of whipped cream and a cherry on top. The toddler smiled instantly. That caught Darren's attention. He looked at the girl's name tag. Savannah. She had a quiet kindness. Helped an elderly man to the bathroom without being asked. Apologized when food took too long, even when it wasn't her fault. She looked like she was carrying the weight of more than just trays. When Darren's burger arrived, it was cold.
He didn't complain.
He wanted to see what would happen. Everything okay? Savannah asked, passing by. Little cold, he said. She frowned, then took his plate. Let me fix that. Sierra appeared from behind. Why are you taking his food? He said it was cold. Sierra rolled her eyes, then looked at Darren. It's supposed to be medium rare. You didn't say you wanted it well done. I didn't, Darren said slowly. But it's not about that. It's just not warm. Savannah stepped between them. I'll take care of it. Sierra threw her hands up. Whatever. I don't have time for this. She walked off. Darren watched her go, then turned to Savannah.
Thank you, he said.
She gave a small smile. I don't like when people leave unhappy. He studied her. You new here? She hesitated. 3 months. How's it been? She looked down. Some days are harder than others.
He nodded.
I get that. The next hour told him everything he needed. Sierra was the senior waitress. She barked orders at the others, made subtle jabs, but rarely helped unless it benefited her tips. The manager, a man named Brett, stayed in the office most of the time, only coming out to flirt with a bartender or complain about the ASC. Savannah and another teen named Jay handled most of the work. Jay was clumsy, but tried hard. By the end of the shift, Darren had his answer. This location wasn't broken. It was bleeding from the inside out. As he stood to leave, crutches clicking again, Sierra called out loudly, "Watch out, guys, the boss man's leaving." Hope that limp wasn't fake after all. The room fell into silence. Darren slowly turned around. Excuse me? Nothing, she muttered. Just seems like people fake stuff to get attention, that's all. The young hostess Carly looked horrified. Savannah looked like she wanted to disappear. Darren's voice was calm. Actually, I do own this place.
Sierra blinked.
What?
I'm Darren O'Connell. So.
And you just made a huge mistake. The room went still. Even the kitchen door stopped swinging. And now, everyone was watching. Sierra's arms dropped to her sides. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. A fork clattered to the floor somewhere behind the counter. Darren stepped forward, slower than usual, without the crutches. He didn't need to say much, the silence did enough. Brett came out of the office, finally noticing the tension, his eyes darting from face to face. What's going on? He asked, walking over. Darren didn't even look at him. His eyes stayed locked on Sierra. You've been here how long? She cleared her throat. Little over a year. Then you know better. Brett stepped between them. Sir, I'm the general manager here. If there's been some misunderstanding, There's no misunderstanding, Darren said. You knew I was coming. You didn't know who I was. But you knew someone was evaluating this location. Brett's face twitched. That's not exactly save it. Darren turned slightly, addressing the room. I've spent 1 shift here.
1.
And what I've seen tells me that the values this place was built on have been ignored for a while. He pointed to Savannah.
You.
Come with me for a minute. She hesitated, then nodded and followed him toward the back hallway past the kitchen. He glanced back at Brett. You too. Once inside the cramped manager's office, Darren shut the door. The room smelled faintly of burnt coffee and lemon cleaner. A single desk sat in the middle, cluttered with order forms, a chipped stapler, and a stack of unopened mail. Darren gestured toward the chair. Savannah, have a seat. She perched on the edge, hands clasped. Brett remained standing. Tell me straight, Darren said. What's been going on here? She looked down. I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble. It's not about that. I want the truth. Her voice was quiet but steady. Some days are okay. Others, it feels like we're trying to hold this place together with tape.
We're short all the time.
People call out and nobody covers. It's just us. We do our best. But it doesn't always matter. Darren nodded once. Brett, how often are you short-staffed? Brett shifted. It's been rough lately, but we do what we can. Do you ever work the floor? I'm not scheduled for it, but I help when needed. Savannah looked up. He hasn't taken a table in the 3 months I've been here. Darren turned to Brett. Is that true? Brett's jaw tightened. I manage. I delegate. Delegation doesn't mean hiding in the office while your team drowns. Darren exhaled through his nose. What about Sierra? How is she still a lead? She's efficient. She knows the system, trains new people, keeps the place moving. Savannah stayed quiet, but her eyes said enough. How many people have quit in the last 3 months? Darren asked. Brett hesitated. 5. Any exit interviews?
No.
We don't usually do those. Darren nodded again. I've seen enough. He looked at Savannah. Go ahead and take your break. Full 30. She blinked. Are you sure?
Yeah.
You've earned it. She stood, still cautious, and slipped out. Darren turned back to Brett. You're done here. What? You're being replaced. Effective immediately. You'll be paid through the end of the week, but don't come back tomorrow. You can't just, yes. I can. Darren stepped closer. You had one job: take care of your team. You failed at that. You let someone like Sierra run unchecked, while your good employees got buried. This place isn't failing because of the economy or staffing shortages. It's failing because of leadership. Brett stood frozen, processing. Then he walked out without another word. Darren returned to the floor. Sierra was at the POS terminal, punching buttons. She looked up when she saw him and started to say something, but he raised a hand. You're done for the day, he said. Leave your apron on the counter. She glanced around, like looking for backup. None came. You're firing me? Yes. She threw the apron with more force than needed and walked out the front door without looking back. The room stayed quiet for a beat. Then Carly, the hostess, stepped forward. Are we supposed to keep working? Yes, Darren said. And I'll be working with you. He moved behind the counter, rolled up his sleeves, grabbed a towel. Let's get these tables cleared. Jay, the young busser, came over, eyes wide. You're really the boss? I am. But right now I'm just another pair of hands. Let's move. For the next 2 hours, Darren worked alongside them. He bussed tables, refilled drinks, wiped down menus. He watched Savannah return from her break and jump right back in, no hesitation. At one point, a father and daughter came in, the girl wearing a soccer uniform. Darren greeted them himself, grabbed their menus, and brought water to the table. The father smiled. New guy. Something like that. As the dinner rush picked up, the gaps in staffing became more obvious. Only 3 people worked the floor now, and the kitchen was clearly behind. Still, the mood had shifted. Carly started checking in on tables without being prompted. Jay moved quicker, more focused. It wasn't perfect. Customers still waited too long. A to go, order got missed. But people started smiling again. After the last table left, Darren gathered what was left of the team in the dining room. Chairs scraped the floor as they formed a loose circle. I owe you all an apology, he said, for letting things get this far. I should have come sooner. I should have seen what was happening here. No one spoke, but they listened. Starting tomorrow, we're bringing in a new manager. Someone who knows how to lead without hiding behind a door. And we'll be hiring more floor staff. No more 4-person shifts during peak hours. Jay raised a hand. Can I stay on the floor instead of just bussing? I want to learn to serve. You'll get training, Darren said. We'll invest in you if you're willing to learn. He turned to Savannah. You've been holding this place together without credit. That stops now. I want you to help shape the new team. You'll be our lead server if you want it. Her eyes widened. Yes. Good. He looked at the others. This place used to stand for something. We're getting back to that. But I can't do it alone. You in. One by one, they nodded. Darren left late that night, long after the last table was wiped down and the lights dimmed. As he stepped outside, the cool night air hit him. He looked back at the building, then down at the crutches leaning against the wall. He didn't need them anymore. Tomorrow, he'd be back. And this time, not as a stranger. The next morning, Darren arrived early before sunrise. He parked behind the building, far from the employee lot, and entered through the back door. The kitchen lights were off, but the smell of bleach lingered in the air. He flipped on the switches one by one, illuminating the prep stations and scuffed tile floors. A mop sat propped in the corner, still damp from the night before. He set his travel mug on the counter, rolled up his sleeves, and got to work. By the time Carly unlocked the front door at 6:30, he had restocked the beverage station, organized the hostess stand, and wiped down every menu by hand. She stopped when she saw him. "You're here already?" "I told you I'd be back," he said, tightening the cap on the sanitizer bottle. "Couldn't sleep." She walked to the register slowly, watching him. "I didn't think you meant it like that." "I meant it exactly like that." She looked around the dining room. "Feels different in here." "It's going to be." By 7, Savannah arrived, her hair pulled back under a navy headband, eyes still a little tired. She paused when she saw Darren behind the counter. He was rolling silverware into napkins.
"You don't have to do that," she said.
"I know, but I'd rather do it than sit in an office." She hung her jacket on the hook behind the server station and reached for the coffee carafes. "You're not going to make this a one-day thing, are you?" "I'm not going anywhere," he replied. "And neither are you." The morning rolled in slowly. A few regulars' faces Darren didn't recognize, but Savannah greeted by name trickled in. One older man took his usual seat by the window. Darren walked over with a refill before he could ask. "Thanks, kid," the man said, nodding. "New here?" "Sort of," Darren said. At 8, the new general manager arrived. Her name was Denise, and she didn't waste time. She walked through the door carrying a clipboard and wearing a faded black polo with a different restaurant logo. She'd run a similar chain in a neighboring city for years. Darren had called her the night before and offered her the position with no fluff. Her only question had been, "Do I have the authority to clean house where needed?" "Yes," he'd said. "Now," she scanned the space carefully, noting the line of streaks on the floor near the dishwasher, the outdated POS system, and the exhausted expression on Jay's face as he arrived, already rubbing his temples. Darren introduced her quickly. "This is Denise. She's in charge now." Jay blinked. Did Brett quit or something? He was replaced. Denise stepped forward. "We're not here to babysit. We're going to run this place right. If that's a problem for anyone, now's the time to say it." No one did. By 10, the atmosphere had shifted. Not dramatically, but tangibly. Denise took stock of inventory, made notes on missing items, and pulled Darren aside near the walk-in. "You need to swap your vendor," she said, holding up a box of wilted lettuce. "They're giving you bottom-grade produce and charging you for premium." "I'll handle that today." "You're not going to micromanage me, are you?" He shook his head. "I know what I don't know. That's why I called you." She nodded once, then stepped back into the kitchen. Lunch was steady. The kitchen fell behind twice, but Denise coordinated a fix. Carly took initiative and began seating people more efficiently. Jay, after struggling to carry a tray, asked if he could switch to dishes until he trained up. "Smart choice," Denise told him. "You'll get there." Savannah was everywhere, tea refills, table checks, handling a toddler's spilled cup before the mother could react. Darren watched from the side, occasionally wiping down counters or hopping in when someone needed backup. He didn't hover. He just stayed close. At one point, Savannah cornered him near the back register. "You know," she said, "most people at your level would have fired everyone and started over." He leaned against the counter. "Some people don't need to be fired. They just need to be seen." She folded her arms. "What if they don't want to be? Then we don't keep them." A silence settled between them before she spoke again. "My sister used to work here. Before me." Darren glanced at her. "What happened?" "She quit. Said Sierra made her feel like trash. Called her slow. Lazy. She's got a speech delay, but she's the hardest worker I know. Nobody stood up for her. She walked out mid-shift and never came back." Darren's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry. She kept telling me not to apply here. I thought maybe I could change things." "You did," he said. "You just weren't supposed to have to do it alone." Later that afternoon, a delivery truck pulled into the lot. The driver, a heavy-set man in his 50s, stepped out, clipboard in hand. Darren intercepted him at the back. "Who signed off on these?" he asked, pointing at the boxes.
"Brett."
"Same as always." Darren opened one, revealing bruised tomatoes packed with wet newspaper. "This ends today," he said. "Take these back. We're not paying for garbage." The man frowned. "That's above my pay grade." "Not mine." He handed the clipboard back and turned to Denise. "We're switching vendors. Effective immediately."
She didn't blink.
Already started making calls. By 5, word had spread. A few former employees popped in, asking about the rumors. Denise took their names. Darren sat with one, a soft-spoken guy named Malik, who said he'd been let go after asking for time off to care for his sick mother. "Sierra said I was making excuses," he said. "I was trying to give notice. She said if I left, I shouldn't bother coming back." Darren looked him in the eye. "You want your job back?" Malik nodded. "I just want to work somewhere decent. You start tomorrow." That night, after close, Darren stayed with the team to scrub the kitchen floor. Not because he had to, because he couldn't leave. Savannah stood nearby, drying silverware. She looked over at him. "No offense, but you're not what I expected." He smiled. "Good." Jay poked his head out from the dish station. "You think we're gonna make it?" Darren leaned on the mop handle. "We're not finished yet. But yeah, I do." Denise walked past, holding a clipboard. "Don't get soft on me already." He chuckled. "Don't worry. You're here to keep me honest." As the last lights dimmed and the crew gathered their bags, Darren stood at the door, holding it open. "Same time tomorrow?" Savannah asked. "Earlier," he said. "We've got a lot left to fix." She nodded, then glanced back once before heading into the lot. Darren locked the door behind her, then turned and looked out over the empty dining room. It wasn't fixed. Not yet. But for the first time in a long time, it felt like a place worth saving. By the time Darren returned the next morning, the sky was still a shade of deep gray. The building sat quiet, lights off, but there was a different weight in the air, less tension, more anticipation. He unlocked the back door and stepped inside, setting down a tray of fresh pastries he'd picked up from a local bakery. Savannah had mentioned days ago, in passing, that the crew rarely had time to grab breakfast. It wasn't a grand gesture, just something he could do. Denise arrived 20 minutes later, carrying a binder under one arm and a stack of updated training manuals in the other. Without a word, she handed him a checklist for the day. "Vendor replacement confirmed," she said. "First delivery comes tomorrow. I spoke to Malik last night. He's good to go for prep and support. I've also got 2 interviews lined up for evening shifts." He nodded, scanning the list. "You think we'll make it through the weekend?" "With duct tape, maybe. But we'll get there." Savannah walked in just after 6, her steps slower than usual. Darren didn't comment. The dark circles under her eyes said enough. Instead, he handed her a paper cup and gestured to the coffee machine. "Take 5. She looked at the tray of pastries, then back at him. "You trying to bribe us into liking you?" He raised an eyebrow. "Is it working?" She took the cup and sat at the server station. "I'll let you know after I've had 2. Jay arrived not long after, typing something rapid-fire on his phone before slipping it in his pocket. He looked more alert, less like he was running on fumes. Darren noticed the clean apron, the tighter laces on his shoes. Small things, but deliberate. By 7, they were open, and the first guests began to trickle in. Carly had taken initiative to organize the seating chart the night before, and it showed. She kept the flow balanced, avoided clustering tables, and flagged Darren when the kitchen began slowing down. He appreciated that she didn't wait for permission, she just acted. As the breakfast rush settled into a rhythm, Darren pulled Savannah aside while Denise took over the floor with Jay. "I need your opinion on something," he said. She followed him to the back hallway where he opened a small notebook. Inside were notes on every employee, shifts, feedback from the last week, and a column simply titled, Potential. "I want to start building a training ladder," he said. "Not just for servers, but for every role. If someone wants to grow, they need a clear path." She studied the pages. "You're creating a pipeline."
Exactly.
"I want to know who's ready, who's close, and who needs support." She tapped a name. Carly Sharp. "She's been doing half the floor management work without realizing it." He nodded. "What about Jay?" "He's got heart. He needs structure, but he wants to be better." "Good. And what about you?" She looked up. "What about me?" "You're not going to be a lead server forever." "I haven't thought that far ahead." "You should." Before she could respond, Denise's voice called from the front.
Darren.
"Customer situation at table 4. You'll want to handle it." He moved fast. An older woman sat at the corner booth, her arms folded, eyes narrowed. Across from her, a young employee not part of their regular team stood frozen. Her hands were shaking slightly. As Darren approached, the woman spoke sharply. "She's not listening. I told her I want someone else, someone who understands me." The girl looked up, blinking rapidly. Her name tag read Elena. Denise had brought her in on a trial shift from another location. Darren stepped between them, calm but direct. "What seems to be the issue?" "She's not native," the woman said, lowering her voice. "I want someone who can speak clearly." "Is that too much to ask?" Darren didn't hesitate. "You can leave." The woman's eyes widened. "Excuse me? We don't serve discrimination with our coffee," he said. "You're welcome to dine elsewhere." The woman stood slowly, muttering something under her breath as she grabbed her purse and marched out. Darren turned to Elena. "You okay?" She nodded, lips pressed tight. He lowered his voice. "You did nothing wrong. You handled yourself with restraint. We don't tolerate that kind of behavior here. Not from staff. Not from customers." She nodded again. "Thank you. Take a minute, then come back when you're ready. You're not alone here." As she stepped away, Denise appeared beside him. "She yours now?" she asked. "Yeah," he said. "She is." The rest of the shift passed without incident. Around midday, a former cook from another branch walked in, resume in hand. Denise took him to the back for a quick interview. Darren watched as Savannah coached Jay on handling a complicated table, with Grace walking him through the timing of drink refills, how to read the mood of a group, when to step back and let people enjoy their meals. By 3, Malik had arrived, slipping into the prep station like he'd never left. He worked with quiet efficiency, avoiding chatter but keeping pace. Darren stepped in briefly, handing him a set of new kitchen gloves. "Glad you're back," he said. Malik nodded. "Me too." Later, Darren sat in the office, reviewing schedules while Denise updated the supply tracker. She didn't look up as she spoke. "You can step back now." He glanced at her. "Not yet." "Then at least stop doing dishes." He leaned back in his chair. "Fair." She closed the laptop. "You've got a good crew here. They just needed a reason to believe this place was worth giving their energy to. They were the reason I came in the first place." "You're going to lose some," she said. "Even with all this, some people will still leave. That's part of the game." "I know, but the ones who stay, they'll be the foundation." He nodded, then stood. "I'm going to speak with the team before I go." The dining room was quiet, the lull between lunch and dinner giving them a rare moment to breathe. Darren called everyone together: Savannah, Jay, Carly, Malik, even Elena, who now looked far more composed. He stood at the front, hands in his pockets. "When I walked in here the first time, I came with crutches and a fake limp. I did that because I didn't trust the reports anymore. I wanted to see it for myself." Savannah folded her arms, listening. Carly leaned forward slightly. "I saw people being ignored. Good people. I saw others abusing their title and forgetting who pays their salary: the guests and the team that keeps the place standing."
He paused.
That's over. From here on out, we lead from the floor, not the office. We promote based on action, not years served. And we treat every person who walks through those doors, guest or staff, with the same baseline: dignity. Jay raised his hand. What happens if someone forgets that? Darren looked him in the eye. Then they're gone. No one said anything for a moment. Then Savannah spoke. What about us? What do you need from us? He smiled, not out of relief or pride, but because he could finally answer with certainty. Keep showing up. Keep holding each other accountable. And when it gets hard, remember that someone is always watching. And it's not just me. Malik gave the smallest nod. Elena looked down, but her hands were still. Darren stepped back. Denise is your manager now. I'll visit, but she's running this place. Trust her. Respect her. And if you work hard, she'll make sure you grow. He turned to leave, but Savannah's voice stopped him. You think your dad would have done the same? He paused, then looked back.
No.
He built this place. But he would have let it break before admitting there was a problem. I learned from that. She nodded. As Darren pushed open the door to the parking lot, the late afternoon sun spilled across the pavement. He passed the crutches still leaning behind the hose stand. He didn't take them. He didn't need a disguise anymore. Everyone inside knew who he was. And more importantly, they knew who they were becoming.